Hi, it's Lerald, and it's been a little bit. I had this video about half finished last week, and then a hurricane came through town and knocked out the electricity for a couple of days. It sucked. All of my cheese is gone. So, anyways, once all the fallout from that was dealt with, I finished up this strategy, and I've got to say I'm really happy with how this has worked out. I know that Zizzarin's Gauntlet is happening right now, but I mean, American infrastructural decay is on full display right now. Games with permadeath and Spectrum internet is a match made in hell for me, like a grilled peanut butter and cheese sandwich. I don't want a bite of it. No thanks, man. So in the span of 20 maps of farming fairly high investment tier 16 ultimatums, I more than doubled my money. Actually, I think I more than tripled it. But that did include a really big bit of luck that, still over doubling if we take that out. Like if it's just dead average luck, I think you will more than double your money with this strategy. I also like Ultimatum a lot. I think that as of right now, it's probably the mechanic of the 10 blockable league mechanics that is my favorite. I'm not including ambush in there or domination, probably the number one fave, but at least of the ones that are blockable, I think it is my favorite. It was definitely my favorite league mechanic at the time it was released, and I was very happy when it was brought back. I got up and ran around cheering when they announced that in the Affliction League unveil. Sunset was laughing at me, my channel manager, that is. I don't think the concept of the sun going down at the end of the day was mocking me. I'm not crazy. So the only real downside of this farm is that it's not cheap to get started, and it's not safe. I guess that's two downsides. Ultimatum will kill you if you're not prepared for it, or if you make bad decisions with your Ultimatum mods. Now, my preferred build for farming Ultimatum used to be Lightning Strike Champion, but with the nerfs to Champion, and with the nerf to Mahaksadal's Machination, and also kind of the current state of Lightning Strike Slayer and Svalin the Shield, I think that this has been a really seamless transition from that Mahaksadal's Machination Lightning Strike Champion into the Svalin Lightning Strike Slayer. I think it's pretty much just a 1-for-1. I think the setup that I've been running in this league thus far is pretty perfect for this content. I didn't die during any of the ultimatums. I did randomly flop over immediately after killing the Trial Master and zoning out and all the loot started to spawn. I just fell over. I'm not exactly sure what happened. My best guess is that I was doing a map with no regen on it. Like I was doing some pretty gnarly maps and then zoned out, and there was like a pool left on the ground from something that had died, and I just instantly ticked out there. That's the only thing I can come up with. I will say that the Trial Master, just from kind of past experience, the Trial Master can be pretty beefy. He will throw out some big Sunder slams, and you just want to make sure you're not in those cones because they can kill you. So as always, let's get into it, but first, you gotta like and subscribe. It's the only thing that's gonna help me deal with losing all of my cheese. I had so much cheese in that fridge. Oh, I could go on Munster, Havarti, Gouda, mozzarella, whatever. Let's move on. Rest in peace, cheese. So the main philosophy with this farm strategy is just to farm catalysts with Ultimatum, and we can use the Ultimatum Scarab of Catalyzing, to guarantee that all of the rewards that come from Ultimatum are catalysts. It's pretty simple stuff, it's extremely strong, and thus it is fairly expensive, but actually not that expensive considering how much profit it generates. Like, just to put a point on it, we are making over a divine of pure profit per map, and these are maps that are under 5 minutes. These are like 4-minute maps. So because we're running that Scarab, we aren't really getting any weird stuff from Ultimatum. There's corrupted uniques from the Trial Master. Some of those can be a bit odd, but for the most part, he's just kind of a money printer. This whole mechanic is just a money printer. This does mean you're not going to get any of the like weird random double corrupted mage bloods or raw divines, but it also means you're not going to get worthless corrupted rares, and that is usually what you get from Ultimatum, is worthless corrupted rares. Now you can run this without that catalyst. It's a very different strategy. You'll have a different Atlas tree as well, and you will get a bunch of random crap, and that is kind of why I like this strategy as it is. It's higher cost. It's a high cost strategy. You're spending a lot of currency, over a divine per map. And that's fine because it's also a high danger strategy, so it's like not something you would want to do as a beginner. It's kind of, no matter what angle you look at it, it's something you want to do once you have a strong build and once you have a lot of currency sloshing around to do a kind of a big boy farm strat. But this is a tier 16 farm strat, and it rivals tier 17 farm strats, and by that token I think it's a lot easier and faster than those tier 17 farm strats. It also can be done on any map you like. I prefer dunes, nice simple open layout, and that's another huge advantage over a lot of the terrible tier 17 map layouts, so I kind of find it a lot more fun, fun in a video game. What a concept. In terms of actually doing the ultimatums, I really only have two main rules of thumb that I live by with them, and that's to pretty much always keep moving throughout the ultimatum, regardless of what the objective is. You just kind of always want to keep moving. The most dangerous thing you can really do in an ultimatum, and I guess in PoE in general, is to like stand still. You're just begging to be hit and killed. And then after that, there is a whole big list of ultimatum mods, and after every round, you get to choose from 3 of them. There are 7 mods that have 4 ranks, and if you choose one of those 7 mods, you kind of soft lock it in for your future choices. You're not guaranteed to see it again every round, but it is a lot more likely to show back up. And so there are a couple I like to avoid and a couple I really like to lock in because I find them super easy. So let me jump into that with the help of the wiki. All right, here we have the ultimatum page from the PoE wiki. And a lot of these are one-offs, and whether they're really good for you or really bad for you is going to depend on your build. I mean, things like deadly monsters always critting, right? If you're playing a build that has like close to or at 100% less damage, less extra damage taken from crits, this is going to literally do nothing. But obviously, if you don't have any, then it's going to be pretty bad. Drought, you know, if you're playing a Pathfinder, that kind of thing, it's terrible. If you're using a Mage Blood, it literally doesn't do anything. Lots of stuff like that. But then the ones that I think are really, really easy to deal with that have multiple ranks are Blistering Cold, which spawns a bunch of cold orbs, and I think kind of the intended danger here is that they will chill you and freeze. And, you know, you be ailment immune, you be elemental ailment immune all the time, and this is going to do nothing, and so they really don't do a lot of damage compared to some of the other options. There's Choking Miasma, kind of the same situation. As long as you are Chaos Res capped, this just isn't very dangerous, especially if you have like a fair amount of Leech or some sort of life regen and a large amount of Chaos Resistance, then you're good. This just really isn't a very dangerous mechanic. So those are the 2 that I like, and those can eat up a lot of mods at the end of rounds. You know, you do 10 rounds, and you have to choose a mod every time. I guess you don't have to choose a mod before the first round, so you have to choose 9 mods. And you start out all of these at rank 2 because of the Atlas passive tree, so you're able to eat up about 6 rounds just off of these 2. That's pretty good. I don't really like Raging Dead. This is the one that makes the fire skulls fly around and spit fire at you. They're pretty nasty. Razor Dance is also kind of nasty. It will spawn initially just like a 1 blade. Again, we're always going to be starting at rank 2, so it'll spawn 3. This is about the same as the tier 17 Corrupted Blood blades. As long as you're Corrupted Blood immune, this isn't too bad. I would say the rank 4 of this is really the one that's like brutal. The Blood Ground is really, really nasty. And then the Ruin that comes from monsters isn't that bad, but I don't like Ruin. I don't really like playing around with it, but I think this is an okay one if it's like the only thing on the board for you that won't brick your build. I would take the Ruin from monsters. I think it's okay. And then the Stalking Ruin is one that I find, again, really irritating, being chased by the Shade, constantly being forced, not just to constantly move like you already are, but even more is really, really nasty. And Stormcaller Runes, they're just really hard to see. They can very easily one-shot you, and I just really hate them. So I really don't like to take the Stormcaller Runes or the Stalking Ruin or the Razor Dance or the Raging Dead. I don't like to take any of those. If I can help it, I will take Ruin. Sometimes it's okay, but then I really do like locking in Blistering Cold and Choking Miasma. And there's one other thing I want to give a special shout out to, which is Blood Altar is just the character deleter. I don't know what the deal is with this. Every single time I've ever taken it in the past, I didn't even take it this league. This just immediately killed my character no matter what. I don't know, maybe there's like some sort of build thing where I was playing evasion-based builds with not a lot of armor. Maybe that was the issue. Maybe it just kills everything instantly. I'm not playing around with it to find out. Don't ever take Blood Altar unless you feel like dying, I guess. All right, so one important little bit of information I want to get into before I dive into the Atlas passive tree setup here is that for the most part, Ultimatum doesn't scale with quantity or rarity or pack size or any of that. Like, none of the rewards scale from that. They're just kind of set. However, there's one exception, and that is Catalysts. Those do scale with quantity. Since we are farming exclusively Catalysts, we do want to juice quantity as much as we can, which then also juices rarity and pack size. So we're taking all the map mod effect we can, top hat, all the nodes for that as well. Now, because we're running Corrupted 8 mod maps, they're not chiseled. I'm not taking Chiseled Perfection. If you are chiseling and then alconvoling your maps, then you should take this instead of this point right here, this little Ultimatum survival time point. But other than that, you know, it's kind of a normal setup. We're taking all the quantity or in the outer wheel. I'm not burning 3 points to come in and get 3% more quantity and 15% more rarity. You could. I think it winds up being about the same as just taking these points into like Scarabs and stuff. And that's kind of where I'm spending a lot of my extra points. Scarab drop chance, a bit more map drop chance, try and get more tier 17s, that kind of thing. And then a lot of blue altar pack size, so we can get more blue altars, we can get more quant rarity from the blue altar player rewards. I always check those. Maybe you'll get a divine altar. I actually did. I got lucky on my first map, first altar, first pack of guys. I got a divine shrine, so that was pretty cool. But, you know, definitely not guaranteed or anything. That's definitely the last one I'm going to see of the league. I'm sure of it this time. So, you'll note that it says that our maps have a 78% chance to contain an ultimatum encounter. We're getting that from Face the Ultimatum. Obviously, 78's not 100%, but you'll note that it's plus 78, and the actual baseline chance is 8%. For all league mechanics, it's 8%, so 8 plus 78 is 86. And then because we're taking these 4 blocker nodes over here so that we don't get Legion, Scarabs, Expedition, Abyss, and Breach, and then the same with the Ritual, Blight, and Delirium, we're blocking, 7 nodes here, and these all give you a 2% chance to get other content that can be turned off through Atlas passives, including Ultimatum. That's 7 times 2, so that's 14%. 86 plus 14 is 100%, so that 78% is actually all that we need to guarantee Ultimatum is in every map. Now, hypothetically, you could just drop this whole 5 points coming down here and use your last Scarab on an Ultimatum Scarab. I don't really think it's worth it. I think you get more out of the Scarab that we're using instead, but, you know, that is definitely an option. Not the direction I chose to go. Now, because we're doing the catalyzing Scarab, we're not going to be bothering with Worthy of the Past, Future, and Present. These are all good nodes. Like, if you don't want to go with the expensive Scarab setup, then you could take all of these. The way that I would pull this off is I would just drop Scarab drop chance and map drop chance nodes. Like, I would just drop that kind of stuff to be able to afford to come over here and take these points. Maybe even drop some of the Eater of Worlds stuff. I guess I would drop a lot of the map mod effect, really. That would make the maps easier to do the ultimatums, and it wouldn't really affect the amount of reward that you're getting out of them, since you're not going to get nearly as many catalysts. It's not really going to have as big of a deal, big of an impact. So that's probably the approach I would take. But for the expensive setup, this is the way I'm going. So we're taking Prove Yourself Worthy, as I kind of already mentioned. We get a lot harder, a lot higher tier on all the ultimatum mods that have multiple tiers. We start at tier 2, but then we get 25% more stuff, so that's pretty huge. Stand Your Ground is another pretty difficult one. It makes the circle get smaller, which just really, really increases the difficulty of ultimatums. Like, there is one mod that makes it so the ultimatum arena is much smaller. Never take that one either. It's quite brutal. But with that being said, getting all your rewards to count as though you completed an extra round gives you a lot more stuff, and that's really good. We're going to exploit that, or whatever, take advantage of that as well through Scarabs. And then finally, obviously we're taking Brave the Tower, so we get a full stack of a random catalyst from beating the boss. And then I like to take Slaughter Them All and Protect the Altar. These are kill objectives. They are a lot faster than the 2 alternatives, Survive the Assault, which is very, very long and slow and boring, and Conquer the Stones, which is kind of the same, right? Like, Kill Them All and Protect the Altar are kind of the same concept with a little bit of flavor added onto Protecting the Altar, and then the same kind of goes for Surviving the Assault and Conquering the Stones. And the reason I'm not taking these 2 keystones is they increase your chance of getting them, and I really don't want that to happen. So in the span of 20 maps, as well as a couple of setup maps beforehand, just kind of feeling things out that I wasn't recording on, I only got 1 survive out of all of this. And so because I kind of have a leftover point here that's just kind of floating around, I'll put 1 point in to make it so that if for some reason you get unlucky and you do get the require you to survive objective, it'll be a little bit faster. But like the Ultimatum Stone Circle Radius, I don't really think that helps very much. It certainly won't save you any time to have the circles be bigger. I mean, not really much time anyway, so not a big deal. But ultimately what you're looking for is just killing and also killing. All right, now let's talk about the Scarabs. These are pretty straightforward. You're going to be using the Ultimatum Scarab of Catalyzing. Obviously, that's the big expensive one. And then you're going to also use the Ultimatum Scarab of Dueling. That'll ensure that you always have the Trial Master in the 10th round of every Ultimatum. These are kind of locked in. They are what the whole concept is built around. And then for any Ultimatum setup, I think you really want to use the Ultimatum Scarab of Bribing as well. Now, it gives you increased XP. This isn't as good of XP as it sounds like. I think Ultimatum just isn't really that great of an XP league mechanic. I didn't find that I really got great XP. I did also just randomly, I think I said this already, I think I randomly flopped over after finishing the Ultimatum one of the times, so that kind of cut into my XP gain as well. But I didn't find that this was actually like a great XP gain. The real value here is just simply that you get extra rewards as though you completed 2 extra rounds. That does stack with whatever it's called. This one, Stand Your Ground. So you count as though you've completed 15 rounds instead of 10, which is pretty huge. I mean, this is why you're getting these extreme explosions of catalysts at the end of your ultimatums. And so, you know, you're going to want to run Ultimatum, Scarab of Bribing, and Dueling in any Ultimatum setup. And then since we're trying to go for the big bucks, we want to run the Catalyzing as well. Then you have the option of kind of your 5th Scarab. You could just run a regular Ultimatum Scarab, like I said. You could also run this Influencing Scarab of Hordes. That's the one that I've gone with. That stacks very nicely with all of the pack size from the Eater of Worlds. So you're getting 40% in the tree, and then you're getting 40% from a Scarab, and that stacks with all the map mod effect that you have as well. Really, really good stuff. Gives you a lot more blue altars. Really good if you get lucky and get a divine altar. You could also just go with Scarab of Monstrous Lineage. This will be more generic stuff throughout the map. It'll be fewer blue altars, fewer rewards from blue altar monsters, or red altars. You know, if you want to go red altars and pick up individual chaos orbs, you can do that too, and that will also work really well with Influencing Scarab of Hordes. Monstrous Lineage is just more generic guys. Now, as for the map device, as for the map itself, you can run any map you like. I like Dunes. I've scried Mesa map div cards onto it, so that's really good. And it has a good layout, nice and open. That is definitely preferable for this strategy, for this league mechanic. And for the map device, I'm just doing quantity, since that will play directly into the amount of catalysts we get, and there's not really any other league mechanics that I would want to take instead, like the idea of doing domination, spending a bunch of points on shrines in the Atlas passive tree to make this really good. It's something that sounds nice. It would definitely make the clear speed a little faster, maybe shave 15-20 seconds off, but I think ultimately it's not going to last for the whole Ultimatum anyway, so I think it's better to just keep it cheap, keep it simple, not waste any Atlas passive points, and just go with quantity of items in the area. And, you know, super simple. Definitely something you can play around with if you like, though, but like actually taking Ultimatum on the Atlas or on the map device, no way. Way too expensive. You know, it's whatever it is. I think it's like 8 chaos. There's no way that that's worth it compared to just guaranteeing it through the passive tree and taking quant. All right, so these are my results. As you can see, there's an absolutely insane amount of catalysts in this tab here. It is mostly catalysts, although there are a handful of cartography scarabs and, you know, some other scarabs in here as well. I think I have a couple of Ultimatum scarabs of catalyzing. Yep, 2 of them. Pretty nice. And yeah, there's also a lot of corrupted uniques. Some interesting ones like this Glimpse of Chaos with nearby enemies are blinded. Increased effective curses. You know, these are okay. +1 minimum charges. +2 to level of socketed gems, nearby enemies are crushed. This 80% cost and res multiplier. Like on their own, these glimpses of chaos aren't really all that valuable, but that top line of the explicit mods can be modified while corrupted. You can hit these with another Fall Orb, and they can remove some of these lines. Things like the Chaos Resistance is 0 can be removed. It can also turn them into a rare, and then use Tainted Currency to turn this into Fractal Thoughts. With one of these mods, like nearby enemies are blinded or +1 minimum all charges or something like that. I think that's interesting. It doesn't get counted in Wealthy Exile or anything like that. None of these are really all that valuable on their own. Like, I don't think I could sell any of these for a divine even. And then like there's some Yalmax Accords that, again, I don't think these are really worth anything. Maybe some people would play around with them. I also got a bunch of this Ixchel's Temptation that I know is not worth anything. And then one kind of crappy Venter's Gamble, not really worth much either. Now, as you can see, I got 24 divines here. That is from the 1 divine altar reward, and then just 1 random divine, as well as a Valdos puzzle box and a Voidborn reliquary key. That was pretty fortunate. And then just like a handful of valuable maps, a couple tier 17s. Not really anything all too crazy. You know, maybe you could say like these 2, the Valdos and the Voidborn reliquary key. Little lucky. Those didn't come from the Ultimatum, they just came from random guys in the maps, but you know, it's kind of the side benefit of juicing all of the map mod effect on any farm strategy that scales with quant or rarity or whatever, is you might just get some nice valuable stuff from dudes in the map. So in terms of what that actually looks like in my Wealthy Exile tab here, it is 72 divines. I excluded the 24 divines from the divine altar just to kind of count like what I think is more or less the floor here. And I think that these maps were taking about 90 seconds to full clear. And then I was giving myself 2 to 2.5 minutes to do the ultimatum. I think that was a little bit of an overestimate, but I think conservatively 4 minutes to do full clear, you know, put the map in the map device all the way through to killing the Trial Master. I think 4 minutes is pretty realistic. If you're going slower, then it's obviously going to be slower. If you're going faster, it's going to be better. RNG also comes into play, but as you can see, I actually made 72 divine, so if I included the divine altar, the lucky RNG of getting 24 divines in a single map, then it looks more like over 35 divines an hour, which is pretty insane. But even without that good RNG, even without any sort of like good RNG drops, really, we're still over 15 divines an hour very easily, more than doubling our money here. The gold per hour is not great. That's maybe the biggest complaint I have about this is even though they have made it so that monsters and ultimatums can drop things again, they don't drop a ton. They certainly don't drop a lot of gold. So the gold per hour just really isn't all that special. But with that being said, I think that the Ultimatum Scarab of Catalyzing, even though it is fairly expensive, right now it's valued about a divine. You know, your mileage is always going to vary on how prices shift and stuff. But even so, I think that this strategy has worked out pretty well. I think that these are actually kind of undervalued relative to what amount of catalyst value that you're able to extract from doing this strategy. Obviously, there's kind of the gamble of maybe you'll die and then you're totally wasting those scarabs, and I think that's probably why they're a little underpriced relative to how much currency you're able to make. But like, if you wanted to farm some sort of high value item, I was going to say Headhunter, but that's not true anymore. Mage Blood, Mirror, whatever. I think you can do a lot worse than this strategy. I think this is pretty good and very reliable. Also, another thing that you can do just to kind of show off the amount of catalysts, like at 33 divines worth of catalysts, a lot of the catalysts, a lot of them are these low value crap ones like Noxious and Imbued, and you can take all of the Noxious, Imbued, and Abrasive ones, and you can 3-to-1 vendor them, and I'll just do that right now to kind of show it off. Sell them however many at a time, and the vendor will 3-to-1 convert them to a random catalyst. So we might be able to get more valuable catalyst out of the deal. All right, I did vendor flips on a handful of these, like actually quite a few, over 100 Noxious catalysts, and I think things stayed about the same. You know, we're still about 33 divines worth of catalysts. You know, technically we went up, but that could be something else in the tab going up in value a little bit or whatever. So ultimately, I think this won't prove to be like a huge gain. You know, if I were to sell every single one of these low value catalysts, maybe I make a divine or two off of it. So it's definitely something you can do to just kind of consolidate things into more high value items. So now let's wrap things up. I still really like Ultimatum. It's a very fun league mechanic to me, one of the best in the past several years, and I'm super glad that they brought it back in Affliction League and then gave it a little bit of a buff this league. Also, like with the last video, I just think it's a fun change of pace from farming strong boxes or tier 17s, and it's definitely one of the best and most consistent methods for farming raw currency. Also, just like recording all of the footage for this video, recording this section took 2 days. Things have been kind of crazy here. I don't know, it's like I'm cursed. A can of spray paint exploded. But on a positive note, I was able to replenish a lot of my cheese supplies. I'm a mouse. So we'll end on this action item. What is your favorite cheese? I demand an answer. Let me know in the comments. All right, that's it. Thanks for watching, and good luck with your drops. Bye.